21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
We are realpha. Our mission is to empower homebuyers through technology. As a company that was a startup only 3 years ago, we went public on NASDAQ within 3 years or less and have done, at this point, 7 acquisitions and 8 or 9 capital raises. We are on a journey to bring AI to real estate and put more money back in buyers' pockets through a series of consolidation efforts, as well as layering AI on top of an industry that is decades behind in technology. So what makes realpha different is we are creating an end-to-end home buying platform to make it feel like a home buyer is interacting with one person throughout the entire process, almost like a concierge service all the way across the home buying platform, from brokerage to mortgage to technology. Because we have all the services in one house, we can offer bundling discounts similar to insurance, right? If you think of Geico, because we have everything in one place, we actually take some of the buy-side commission and give it back to the home buyer, which they can use for whatever they would like, but some uses include paying down your down payment or getting lower mortgage rates. Hi, my name is Cecil. I am the VP of Strategy at realpha. I started as a pre-med student in college and then quickly figured out that I liked trading stocks a lot more than I liked studying for chemistry. The next year, I switched into business and found myself later in the year helping to start a capital fund where I worked for free for multiple years to learn as much as I possibly could about business and starting a capital fund and private equity and all kinds of different deals. I later joined realpha as employee number 10, so it was very early on. And since then, we've gone through 7 acquisitions of other companies. We went public on NASDAQ in under 3 years, and we've done 8 different capital raises of varying different sources, including a crowdfunding round for $9 million with 3,000 plus shareholders across 23 countries. And now I'm still at realpha as head of strategy, and I'm a lifelong student of strategy, and I'm just looking to lead the company beyond the go public transaction into a great company. So let's talk about when you should go public or consider even going public. I think that the best metaphor to use when talking about considering going public as a startup or even a mature company is that you have to be ready to figuratively get naked in front of the public. And so that means you have to be ready for having every detail of your company, including all the way down to the financials, your personal lawsuits, your salaries, your failures, your wins, all documented into one giant document and put out for the public to digest and to make a decision as to whether they want to invest in you or not. And the second thing that really happens is you now live and die by the quarter, right? And perhaps in this environment, even quicker than that. In the day of stock twits and retail trading, these cycles can happen in weeks and days rather than over the course of quarters. People are trading on all sorts of information, from rumors to hype cycles to uh, anything else, right? Besides just your financials. So you have to be ready for the constant pressure of both large and small shareholders coming from all different directions. But what something like going public unlocks for you is exposure across a national level, credibility for being a NASDAQ or NYSE or OTC listed stock, and all sorts of different new options for raising capital, both on a large chunk basis, but also just small little bits here and there that help with things like operating cash flow. Right? As a public company, you can do what's called an ATM offering, and if you ever have a large volume day, you could just sell some small percentage of your volume as new shares, and you've got money in the bank account the next day. So that kind of flexibility of capital raising and the credibility you get ultimately makes it worth it for some startups to consider. As a lifelong student of strategy, I am always absorbing new information on how to be a better strategist. And strategy in its classical definition is you have some kind of goal or destination that you're trying to get to, and it's about just simply putting the right resources, people, and timing in place in order to be able to get to that goal. But I'd like to propose something that maybe other people aren't necessarily thinking about right now, which is AI agents as a resource in and of itself, but also as a potential customer, which I can touch on in a bit. I think that AI has gotten to the point where it is so powerful that it can condense and 50x the productivity of somebody that was previously operating at, a 1x, right? For example, our team is able to come up with research topics and memos probably within about 20 to 30 minutes versus before to create a report of that quality would take over a week worth of work. And so now the pace of questioning, being able to ask a question, experiment on it, and then come up with an expected result is so much faster. So you can iterate on your strategy so much faster than we can before. Now, there is a different side of this camp now, which is you see a lot of universities, large universities, specifically, I saw one from MIT the other day, where they're coming out with studies that are saying that 92% of companies that are implementing AI are not getting any results or the expected results, right? But part of being a good strategist, I think, is seeing through signal versus noise. And to me, these MIT reports feel like noise to me because what I'm actually experiencing is far different than what what this news is telling me. And so being able to see forward-looking signal versus this noise is very important. And to take it even a step further, right? I've spoken on this on a couple of different places before already, but because OpenAI's strategy and ChatGPT is so they want to be your super assistant across all areas of your life. And I think it's going to become more and more common to see people sending out their AI agents to do monotonous tasks that they don't want to do, right? Specifically looking for consumer products and doing things like grocery shopping and signing up for gym memberships and finding reservations and things like that. So pretty soon you're going to start to see these AI agents doing the work for consumers instead. So as a founder, your signal through all the noise would be thinking about, hey, when this happens, is my marketing and my product centered around attracting humans or AI agents? So at Realpha, we use AI for various different things, both internal and external facing. Our goal ultimately, as I mentioned, is to empower home buyers through technology, but let me break down what that means for us. Because in a world where affordability is really at an all-time low, housing prices continue to go up and mortgage rates seem to be getting, they're a little bit stubborn right now and don't seem to want to drop below 6%. But what we're seeing is across the board is a multiple generations that have given up the American dream of owning a home. And I think through our product, because of the end-to-end nature and because the AI that is layered on top of it, we will be able to provide direct savings to the consumer. So let's break that down a little bit. We understand that buying a home is perhaps the most important and large decision that somebody will make in their lifetime. And so first off, we do not want to take the human element out of that. We recognize how important that is and how important it is to have somebody to talk to when you're making such a big decision, right? And so internally, we use AI as an efficiency tool simply to get through all of the work that takes away from our best people doing what they do best, which is interacting and what they love, frankly, which is to interact with the home buyer, right? And then from a consumer facing perspective, we have Claire, which is our home buying concierge. And as I alluded to earlier, the goal is to have Claire be able to guide somebody all the way through the entire process and feel like they're talking to just one person the entire time. So there's not a lot of companies that are attempting to put brokerage, mortgage, and title all in one place because it's very hard to balance the incentives between all of them. But that is something that we're building from the ground up through a series of acquisitions, as well as this AI layer on top of it. And because we have the internal and the external facing AI, what we're doing is we're taking that that money that we save through various efficiencies, and we'll take up to 75% of the buy side commission and give it back to a buyer, right? And what that means in terms of dollar value is if they're buying a $500,000 home, that commission could be anywhere from 25 to 30,000 on that home, and 75% of that could mean basically their entire down payment or getting upgraded to a new, a new class of loans, like from VA to conventional, or it could mean paying down their interest rates, which could be hundreds of thousands of dollars across the life of a 30-year mortgage, which makes a huge difference in the lives of people that can't afford it right now. That there's one methodology that has really transformed my own mindset, and I think can transform businesses and strategy as a whole if it's embraced. And this is based on a book called There Is No How. This was recommended to me and found by my our executive chairman and my former CEO, Gary Devenor. And so There Is No How, right, talks about that people seek how-tos and prescriptions in life for non-mechanical tasks and projects and results, right? But the act of seeking a prescription ends up becoming the new result instead of actually becoming clear about what you want, right? And this book is a bit of a one that'll mess with your mind a little bit. I think I stopped reading books for about 3 months after that, but well worth it, because you look at the world and you look at strategy at a completely different perspective after that, because you stop asking that how question of, how do we do this? How do we do that? Right? And you start drawing inspiration and creativity from various different sources that may seem unlikely. Or, for example, I have in my profile, right? I play guitar. I like jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I like playing board games. And, even recently, I took a 6-day backpacking trip to southern Utah and was off my phone for 6 days, right? All of these things seem extremely unlikely for directly helping with strategy, but they gave me a clarity on what to do and who to do it with and when to do it, more so than any other how-to book or prescription book would. So just a thought for moving forward, instead of asking yourself how to, start asking different questions. If you want to find out more about buying a home with us or following our journey, you can visit realpha.com, realpha.com. And if you're looking to follow along our journey on NASDAQ, we are NASDAQ listed under the stock ticker AIRE, standing for AI for real estate. So follow us there, and as well as our IR website, ir.realpha.com.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.